in the heart of a dense, snow-covered forest in northern Canada, lived a woman named Ilara. She was known for her unconventional ideas and her deep connection with nature. One day, she decided to build a new cabin, but her plan raised more than a few eyebrows among her neighbors. They watched, puzzled, as she began construction without digging a traditional foundation. Whispers turned to laughter. A cabin with no foundation. That's madness, one neighbor scoffed. The first frost will tear it apart, another predicted. They were all convinced her little home wouldn't survive a single harsh Canadian winter. Ilara, however, was unfazed. She had spent years studying ancient building techniques, particularly those of the indigenous peoples who had thrived in these unforgiving landscapes for centuries. She knew something her neighbors didn't. Her design wasn't an act of foolishness. It was a carefully calculated choice, born from a profound understanding of the land she called home. Instead of fighting against nature, she planned to work with it. Her cabin was built on a series of heavy-duty steel skids. These weren't just random pieces of metal. They were the key to her entire design. The structure of the cabin was lightweight, yet incredibly strong, using locally sourced timber that she milled herself. The walls were insulated with a thick layer of sheep's wool, a natural and highly effective material. Every joint was meticulously crafted, designed to have a small degree of flexibility. From the outside it looked like a charming rustic cabin, but its true genius was hidden in its base. The neighbors saw a house resting precariously on the ground. Ilara saw a structure designed to float. As autumn painted the landscape in hues of gold and amber, the first frosts began to arrive. The air grew crisp, and the ground started to harden. Ilara's neighbors watched her cabin with a mix of pity and morbid curiosity, waiting for the inevitable moment when the heaving earth would crack its walls and shatter its windows. The ground in this region was notorious for frost heave, a phenomenon where freezing moisture in the soil expands, pushing the ground upward with immense force. It could buckle concrete, snap foundations, and destroy conventional homes. Without a deep foundation anchored below the frost line, they believed Ilara's cabin was doomed. Days turned into weeks, and the cold deepened. The ground became as hard as iron. The neighbors started noticing cracks appearing in their own driveways and hearing groans from their sturdy, well-built homes as the frozen earth exerted its pressure. They checked their basements for new fissures and listened for the telltale pop of shifting frames. Yet, when they looked over at Ilara's little cabin, they saw nothing. It stood perfectly still, perfectly level, seemingly untouched by the powerful forces at play beneath it. What they didn't understand was that Ilara's cabin wasn't resisting the frost heave. It was riding it. The steel skids allowed the entire structure to move as one single unit. As the ground swelled and shifted, the cabin simply rose and settled with it, like a boat on a gentle wave. The flexible joints in the framework absorbed any minor stresses, preventing any strain on the windows or walls. While their own homes were in a constant, rigid battle with the earth, Ilara's home was in a graceful dance with it. One morning, after a particularly bitter cold snap, one of Ilara's most skeptical neighbors, an old builder named Thomas, couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. He walked over, crunching through the snow, and found Ilara sipping tea on her porch, looking perfectly content. "How?" Thomas asked, gesturing at the cabin. "My porch has a new crack this wide, and your little house is perfect. How is this possible?" Ilara smiled and invited him inside. The interior was warm and cozy, with no signs of stress. There were no cracked plaster walls, no misaligned door frames, and no windows that refused to open. She explained the principle of the skid foundation. She told him how she had observed the way nature adapts, how floating docks rise and fall with the tide, and applied that same logic to the land. She wasn't fighting the frost, she was accommodating it. Thomas was astounded. All his life, he had built things to be rigid, to be strong, to dominate the environment. The idea of building something to be flexible, to yield and adapt, was a complete revelation. He walked around the cabin, examining the construction, his initial mockery replaced by a deep and growing respect. He saw the wisdom in her design, a wisdom that was both ancient and revolutionary. Word of Alara's floating cabin spread through the small community. The laughter had long since died down, replaced by a buzz of admiration and curiosity. People who had once dismissed her as eccentric now came to her for advice. They wanted to understand her methods, to learn how she had managed to build a home that was not only resilient, but also in harmony with its surroundings. Alara's cabin became a local landmark, a testament to the power of innovative thinking and respecting the forces of nature. She showed them that the most robust solutions aren't always about brute force. Sometimes, strength lies in flexibility. Her cabin stood as a powerful reminder that the greatest wisdom often comes from observing the world around us and learning to work with it, not against it. That winter, as the ground froze solid and the northern winds howled, Alara's little cabin remained a warm, stable sanctuary, and her neighbors, snug in their own homes, looked over at her glowing windows with a newfound appreciation, realizing that the woman they had laughed at was, in fact, a pioneer. Her story teaches us a valuable lesson. It's a call to question conventional wisdom and to look for inspiration in unexpected places. True innovation often means daring to be different and having the courage to follow a path that others might not understand. Alara's success wasn't just about building a house. It was about building a better relationship with the world around her. She proved that by understanding and respecting nature, we can create solutions that are not only more effective, but also more beautiful and sustainable. So the next time you see an idea that seems a little strange or unconventional, maybe take a closer look. It might just be a stroke of genius in disguise. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that challenges the way we see the world. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever seen an unconventional design that turned out to be brilliant? Let us know.